المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue inshallah ta'ala from Kitab al-Riqaq, the book of al-Riqaq, with a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that should affect the heart and soften the hearts. Make the heart soft by the remembrance of the hereafter and the reality of this life and what's coming ahead. These types of things soften the hearts of the believers to make them steadfast in matters of speech and actions. And these ahadith, as we heard before, we need to witness that in our hearts, that if our hearts are not affected, if our actions and speech are not affected, that means we need to work on ourselves and repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to have this istijaba, to respond to the call from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اسْتَجِيبُوا لِلَّهِ وَلِلرَّسُولِ إِذَا دَعَاكُمْ لِمَا يُحْيِيكُم. We will believe, istajibu, respond to the call from Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If they call you to what is your life, لِمَا يُحْيِيكُم. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَقَلْبِهِ وَأَنَّهُ إِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ. This call is to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us and to respond immediately. Otherwise, the warning comes in place. Know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is between the slave and his heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can deviate the hearts of those who turn away from al-istijaba, from responding to the call of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Inshallah ta'ala, we won't go beyond 9 o'clock if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us life. He says, باب قول الله تعالى, chapter of the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, يا أيها الناس إن وعد الله حق فلا تغرنكم الحياة الدنيا ولا يغرنكم بالله الغرور إن الشيطان لكم عدو فاتخذوه عدوا إنما يدعو حزبه ليكونوا من أصحاب السعير جمع صعب قال مجاهد الغرور الشيطان. This is the title. He mentioned in the title an ayah, or two ayahs of the Quran in Surah Fatir, ayah number 5 and ayah number 6. Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind, inna wa'da Allahi haqq. Indeed, no doubt, the wa'd, the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is haqq, is the truth. Then, as a result of that, فَلَا تَغُرَّنَّكُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. Do not be deceived by this lower life, or this immediate life. This is the two meanings of a dunya. The dunya is the closer one, the one that we're living. Al-akhirah is the last one. The dunya also means the lower one, because the real life, the everlasting one, is in the hereafter. So the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the truth. And what's the promise of Allah? Promise the believers, Jannat, underneath which the rivers flow, and also promise the disbelievers the punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's the truth. So as a result of that, do not be deceived. And that's the theme of this chapter, al-ghurur, or to be deceived. فَلَا تَغُرَّنَّكُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. Do not be among those who are deceived by al-hayat al-dunya. Al-ghurur is deception. Al-ghurur also is one of the meanings of it is al-batil, falsehood. Because falsehood is one of the forms of deception. And al-ghirra, which is from the mushtaqat of the word, or from the roots of the word, from al-ghurur, when a person is taken by surprise, when a person is stabbed by surprise, or a person is hit by surprise, he's taken by ghirra, right? And this life, this is how it is. A person thinks that he will change, things will be on his way, and so on, and then all of a sudden, he's taken without any preparation. So not to be deceived in this life. And also one of the meanings of al-ghurur linguistically in Arabic language, an-nawm al-qaleel, the short nap, right? Which is basically how this life is compared to the hereafter. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His mercy, warning mankind not to be deceived in this life, because they have a purpose. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them to worship Him alone and not to be attached to this world, and the hereafter is coming ahead. وَلَا يَغُرَّنَّكُمْ بِاللَّهِ الْغَرُورِ. Again, وَلَا يَغُرَّنَّكُمْ. And do not be deceived. Again, بِاللَّهِ الْغَرُورِ. Do not be deceived by al-gharur. Al-gharur is a-shaytan. As he said, Mujahid said, al-gharur is a-shaytan The shaitan is the head of all those who are heads of means of deception. Shaitan is the leader. And anyone follows the ways of the shaitan, they are also falling into the path of deception. So again, the warning is repeated again. Do not make the shaitan deceive you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and from the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the truth. Then the next ayah, إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ. إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ. Shaitan, which is al-gharur. Indeed, the shaitan to you, لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ, enemy. فَاتَّخِذُوهُ عَدُوٌّ. Then take him as your enemy. We know that the shaitan is an enemy. And this is not enough, because every word in the Quran is meant to be this way, for us to reflect and to ponder. To know that something or someone is your enemy, what a person should do, you should take him as your enemy. Not take him as your friend. Not take him as your partner. Not to pay attention. You have an enemy that never sleeps, that never gives up on you, that he wants the worst to you, and he's attacking at all times. During the day, during the night, even if you sleep. That's why we say the adhkar before we sleep, so that you're protected from the shaitan. At all times, he is against you. And if a person is not taking him as an enemy, that means a person is deceived. فَاتَّخِذُوهُ عَدُوًّا. What would you do when you take him as your enemy? You would be secure with your weapons, the weapons that defeats the shaitan, which is to be attached to the book of Allah and to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to say the adhkar, to be steadfast on the deen of Allah, not to listen to the whispers of shaitan, because his kaid, his plots are so weak. And this is a subject that can take a long time for us to talk about, but it's enough for the believers to, with these simple words but greater meanings, that our life, one of the means that we live this life is to take the shaitan as our enemy, but we need to know the plots and the tricks of shaitan, because he deceives people. He adorns the evil to them. So we can say very comfortably, as the statements of the Quran says, the meaning of which, that all human beings are deceived. All of them. Except the believers. And according to the levels of belief and steadfastness, they are away from deception. So the more the person strengthens his iman, the more he is away from being deceived, and the less he is, the more he is deceived by the shaitan. And that's why we need to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and take precautions and to protect ourselves. And this is another subject, how to protect ourselves from the shaitan by the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّمَا يَدْعُ حِزْبَهُ لِيَكُونُوا مِنْ أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. إِنَّمَا, in Arabic language, تفيد الحصر, gives the meaning of exclusiveness. Indeed, this is what the shaitan, his work, nothing else. يَدْعُ حِزْبَهُ. He يَدْعُ, da'wah, he's calling حِزْبَهُ, his party, his people, those who would follow him, لِيَكُونُوا مِنْ أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ, so that they will be among أصحاب السَّعِيرِ. السَّعِير, as he said, جَمْعُهُ سُعُرْ, which is one of the names of the hellfire. So he called his people to be from the people of the hellfire. Ashab, meaning that they don't leave it. They're always in it, meaning to be in the hellfire forever. So the shaitan's goal is not just to make the person fall to a sin here or there. He wants him to be a disbeliever, to be in the hellfire forever. But whatever he can get on the way, he, as we said, he never gave up. So even if it's a sin here or there, but his goal, that's what he wants, and he takes the people into one step after the other, for them to be disbelievers or anything. Then he says, قال حدثنا سعد بن حفص. This is the Sheikh of Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, one of his Sheikh. قال حدثنا شيبان. شيبان, his name is Shaybaan ibn Abd al-Rahman. He is from Aqran al-Imam Abi Hanifa. He's from the friends of Imam Abi Hanifa rahimahullah. عن يحيى بن أبي كثير. He just mentioned Yahya. Yahya ibn Abi Kathir, one of the great ilm. By the way, if we say this, this is true for every person who mentioned his name by the narrators of these ahadith. Each one of them, imam, and not just normal people walking in the street. They were imam with matters of knowledge and so on. Yahya ibn Abi Kathir, Imam Muslim, in his Sahih in the introduction, he mentioned a statement from Yahya ibn Abi Kathir that is very important. Once you mention the name of Yahya ibn Abi Kathir, always the statement comes up, especially with matters of knowledge. He said that this ilm, knowledge, to seek knowledge, لا يستطاع براحة البدن. You would never attain it with being your body being relaxed and comfortable and so on. That means you have to put the effort. And this is the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth. You want to seek knowledge, even the knowledge of matters of dunya, it won't happen when a person is sleeping at home. People, they have to do patience, and they have to struggle, and they have to have patience. So the same thing with the knowledge of the deen. And this is the most valuable thing for a Muslim to seek, is the knowledge of the deen, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. So to think that it will come when we're laying down and things like this, it doesn't work this way. We have to put the effort, and that's why the ilm that is being spread in the masajid, definitely nothing compared to it when it comes to clips and YouTube and things like this. It's better than nothing with regards, of course, avoiding all what is haram, but nothing is the like of being in the masjid to listen to the words of Allah and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ has other blessings too. So he says, عن محمد بن إبراهيم القرشي. Muhammad ibn Ibrahim al-Taymi. Ibrahim al-Taymi is the one that he said, rahimahullah, about Ibrahim alayhi salam. When he said, Ibrahim alayhi salam, وَجُنُوبْنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَنْ نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ. Oh Allah, protect me and my offspring from worshipping the idols. This is Ibrahim alayhi salam saying this. So Ibrahim al-Taymi, the father of the one that is narrating the hadith, he said, وَمَنْ يَأْمَنُ الْبَلَاءَ بَعْدَ إِبْرَاهِيمِ. Who can then secure himself from such a thing after Ibrahim alayhi salam? If Ibrahim alayhi salam himself, Khalil al-Rahman, is saying, oh Allah, protect me and my offspring from worshipping idols. That means this is a valid dua for each and every one of us. We are more in need of it than anyone else, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from associating partners with Him and so on. And his father is a Sahabi. So the grandfather of the narrator is one of the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. قال أخبرني معاذ بن عبد الرحمن أن ابن أبان أخبره قال. He said, أتيت عثمان بن عفان. I came to Uthman ibn Affan رضي الله عنه, the fourth Khalifa of the Khulafa al-Rashidin, and Dhul Nurayn, the Dhul Nurayn meaning the one of the two Nurs, because he married two of the daughters of the Prophet ﷺ, one after the other one died, and he married another daughter of the Prophet ﷺ, and who can reach this level. And he is from the Khulafa al-Rashidin that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned their names to be among the people of Jannah. So he said, أتيت عثمان بن عفان, I came to Uthman ibn Affan رضي الله عنه بطهور, with طهور. طهور with a fatha on the ta means the water to make purification from. Tuhur with the dhamma means the purification itself. Right? The same thing as suhoor is the meal that you eat before Fajr. Sahur is the meal itself. Right? The action is with the dhamma, the subject itself is with the fatha. So he came to him with tahur, with the water that it's valid for him to use to make wudu from. وهو جالس على المقاعد, while he is sitting على المقاعد. And maqa'id means what? Chairs? Means chairs, but this is not, a person might read this and think that I came to Uthman ibn Affan with water while he was sitting on a chair. Right? No, al-maqa'id is a place in Medina called al-maqa'id. So he was sitting there. But he was sitting anyway. Right? So he was sitting, but it's not like on chairs, but this is al-maqa'id is a place in Medina. فَتَوَضَّأَ فَأَحْسَنَ الْوُضُوء. So Uthman radiallahu anhu made wudu, فَأَحْسَنَ الْوُضُوء, he made it perfect, with ihsan, with goodness. ثم قال, then he said, رأيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم توضأ وهو في هذا المجلس فأحسن الوضوء. He said, I saw the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم توضأ made wudu وهو في هذا المجلس, while he was in the same majlis, in the same place that I'm sitting here now. فأحسن الوضوء, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم perfect his wudu. ثم قال, then the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, من توضأ مثل هذا الوضوء ثم أتى المسجد فركع ركعتين ثم جلس غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. He said, whoever makes, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, whoever makes a wudu like this wudu, مثل هذا الوضوء, like the same as this wudu, perfectly done. ثم أتى المسجد, then he went to the masjid, فركع ركعتين, and he prayed 2 rak'ah. Then he sat down, ثم جلس, وغفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه, his previous sins will be forgiven. Right? This is by the statement of the Prophet ﷺ. فركع ركعتين, as the ulama they say he prayed 2 rak'ah. It was mentioned in general like this. So it's not necessarily sunnah prayer, fard prayer, nafil prayer. So that means by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if he prays, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive his previous sins. If it's time for Salatul Fard, he prays the Fard, he comes early, which is definitely very virtuous, then he would pray having these intentions. Or it is also valid for a person to be, at any time, in any state, he applies this. He makes a good wudu and he goes to the masjid to pray 2 rak'ah and leave. Of course, if the masjid is open, right? But this is a good deed. And even there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that praying duha, the duha prayer in the morning in the masjid, 2 rak'ah or more, it's the reward of a umrah. And this is a sound hadith. If a person makes wudu at his home and he comes to the masjid to make 2 rak'ah, at the duha time, the reward of it is umrah, and this is an authentic hadith. So, coming to the masjid normally for the fard prayer, and what's before it and what's after it with the salah, without undermining or without belittling the salah at home, because the Prophet ﷺ said, لا تجعلوا بيوتكم قبورا, do not make your homes as graveyards, pray in your homes, meaning the nafil prayer. But then why did he brought the hadith here? Because we didn't finish yet. After saying this, which shows great reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from a simple deed, غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه, his previous sins will be forgiven. Then قال وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تغتروا. Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم after that he said لا تغتروا. The same word is used. Do not be deceived. Meaning, do not rely and lean towards the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most forgiver, that would make you not to do the work of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Very simple deed. And the great ni'mah and favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the person's previous sins will be forgiven. A person out of ignorance, not having the proper knowledge, might think that this is easy. Then a person can do whatever he wants, and he just make wudu, go to the masjid, pray 2 rak'ah, all the previous sins will be forgiven. This is the meaning of la taqtaru. Do not be deceived. Because we should not ever be deceived, because there is verses of the Quran warning against punishments. And if it's the matter is like this only, why the Prophet ﷺ would weep in his salah? Why the companions of Allah did the ibadah and the Prophet ﷺ and stayed away from sins and weeping in the salah, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness, and the wahy comes down on the Prophet ﷺ, do this, do not do this. The submission has to be there, otherwise a person is deceived. And to make it precise, otherwise the subject is a very lengthy subject, it's a very detailed subject, and the ulama talked about it, the different types of those who are deceived in this life. Not just those who are committing sins, disbelievers, sinners, ulama, people of knowledge, ubbad, righteous people busy in matters of ibadah. All of them, they can be easily deceived. For example, a person is being praised because he's so much knowledgeable, mashallah. Right? He should know himself better than what people know about him. Right? This can be means of deception for him. Or someone praise you, for example. Right? We know ourselves more than anyone else. So we should not be deceived by the praise of others or by our actions and so on. We should, yes, have the trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the good expectations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what is the criteria to know whether a person is deceived or not? The ulama, they say, whoever seeking the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and is doing the action, and he has the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's staying away from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that means he's not deceived. But if a person, he is seeking the rewards from Allah without action, seeking rewards from Allah with sins, then he is al-mahrum. He's the one that is deceived. He relies on the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Ghafur Rahim, the most forgiving, the most merciful. And that's it. No actions. No staying away from sins. Indulge into the sins and says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ghafur Rahim. He leaves the actions, he belittles the actions, he doesn't do it in the right way, and he would say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most forgiving, the most merciful. Of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most forgiving, the most merciful, but he also says subhanahu wa ta'ala, نَبِّ عِبَادِي أَنِّي أَنَا الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ وَأَنَّ عَذَابِي هُوَ الْعَذَابُ الْأَلِيمُ. Inform my slaves that I am the most forgiving, the most merciful, and also inform them that my punishment is severe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have the disbelievers in the hellfire forever. Although their disbelief does not harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they will still be in the hellfire forever. And if He will, He could make them in Jannah, but they would never enter Jannah. Not by my statement or anyone else. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَن يَشَاءُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not forgive the shirk when a person dies on it, and He forgives everything after that. Iblis, shaitan, not prostrating to Allah, to Adam, not obeying one order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is cursed forever. Right? So the person should not be deceived. And at the same time, when we read the ayat about the vast mercy of Allah and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, then we will have the balance. So that we're always between al-raja' al-khawf, hoping for the rewards from Allah, and also having the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all of these things are acts of worship. So that we don't deviate, as some of the ummah split as a result of this. One group went far away to one extreme. And these are the murji'ah, and those who follow their ways. They think there's no punishment, nothing. They just hope, right? And as long as their hearts they say is good, then there is no need for actions. And these are deviants. And those, the other extreme, those who have the fear only, like the Khawarij and the like of them. No mercy whatsoever, right? And that's why if a person commits a major sin, he becomes a kafir. This is the other extreme. And the middle way is the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which there's no contradiction in the Quran and the Sunnah whatsoever. We have to apply all of these hadith and ayat to live our life with all of these different acts of worship. So to do the actions and not to be deceived. Then he says, باب ذهاب الصالحين وقال الذهاب أو الذهاب المطر. The chapter of ذهاب الصالحين. الصالحين are the righteous ones. ذهاب means they're gone. ذهب, person left, he went away. So the righteous ones will be gone. Less righteousness, less among those who are righteous people on earth. ويقال الذهاب المطر. One of the linguistic meanings of al-dhihab is the light rain, right? But he mentioned this as a benefit linguistically, but he meant by the chapter that the salihin, the righteous ones, the more time goes on, the less among those who are righteous. He says, حدثني يحيى بن حماد قال حدثنا أبو عوانة. Of course, it's a separate subject just to talk about the narrators of the hadith. And if you remember, we talked about Abu Awana, al-Mudahid al-Yashkuri, rahimahullah. Someone a few days back was asking about slavery in the past and so on. He was a slave, and his owner, he gave him a choice. Either to free him, right, or to study the hadith. Right? He chose to study the hadith. He chose not to be freed. He wants to study. He wants to be busy studying the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. And later on, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easy for him. He was freed by a very interesting incident, if you remember when we said it before. When someone came, his owner or so as they call it, he trusted him so much. So he would let him deal with his business according to what he sees. Right? So he would deal and sell in the business of his owner and so on. So a poor person came and he asked him for 2 dirham. So he gave him 2 dirham not from his money, because he was entrusted to do this. So this poor person, he went all over the place thinking that he has been freed, because a slave would never give the money from his owner's money. He has to be free to do this. So he went all over the place saying that Yazid ibn Ata had freed his slave. Right, al-Waddah. And he went to the heads of the people and so on. So when it reached Yazid ibn Ata, the one that has him, owns him, he felt embarrassed because everybody now knows that he's free, so he freed him. Right? So this is Abu Awan. يقول عن بيان, this is his name, عن قيس بن أبي حازم عن مرداس الأسلمي قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يذهب الصالحون الأول في الأول. يذهب الصالحون will go away, will go meaning they will die. الأول في الأول, the first and then the first, meaning the first and then the second. This is how when they say al-awwal of al-awwal, right? The first and then the first, meaning the one first and then second and so on. And this is the same way when the Prophet ﷺ would make the rows straight in the salah, and he would say أتم الصف الأول ثم الذي يلي, straight in the first row and then the one after it. So al-awwal fil-awwal, the first, the most righteous, and then the second, and so on. ويبقى حفالة كحفالة الشعير أو التمر لا يباليهم الله بالا. قال أبو عبد الله يقال حفالة وحثالة. And then what's going to be left is حفالة or حثالة, the same meaning, with the fa or with the tha, كحفالة الشعير أو التمر. The sha'ir is the barley, and when they, what's the word, when they sieve, when they use the sieve with the barley to get the dirt out, right? They sieve it, right? Did I say it right? Sieve it. They sieve it. What's left after you sieve the barley is the dirt. So this is what the Prophet ﷺ said. The righteous ones will go, they will die, and those who will be left are the dirt of the people. Like the sha'ir, like the barley, when it's, when they clean it, and what is left is what is no value whatsoever to it. Our tamr, or the same thing with the tamr, the worst type of the tamr, or the date that stays. And it's either again hufala or huthala, the same one. لا يباليهم الله بالا, which means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not care about them, meaning they are of no value whatsoever. Why they are of no value? Because of they're not being righteous. They're not among those who are righteous. So the more time passes, the less righteous people there will be. Right? So that means the Muslim should do his best he can to be among those who are righteous. And this is mentioned even in Surah Al-Waqi'ah and other surahs. Ashab al-Yameen, and the highest one are As-Sabiqun As-Sabiqun. They are Thullatun min al-Awwalin wa Qalilun min al-Akhirin. They are group from the first early generations, and qaleel, and few from among the later generations. But Ashab al-Yameen are still from the people of Jannah, of a lesser level. They are thullatun min al-awwalin wa thullatun min al-akhirin, the same amount from the early generation and from the later generation. And again, the khayr and the goodness in this ummah, still the day of judgment. And there will be times, as the ulama they say, it doesn't mean that this is at all times. At certain times, certain places, the salihin, the righteous ones, can be many, right? But in general, throughout history, this is how it would be, and that's why a person should follow the early salihin, the early generation of Islam, those who we know for sure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was pleased with them. These are the role models who are the righteous among this ummah. They were, and those who follow their ways also, they will be among them. So this is the meaning of yadhhab as-salihun, that means they will die one after the other. And that's why the salih, or the righteous one, when he dies, or the ulama, when they die, this is a calamity in the ummah. Because the only reason why things are in place is because there are salihin on earth. Right? When the last believer will die, then when only disbelievers on the face of earth, this is where the day of judgment will occur. But this is all the way at the end, after Isa alayhi salam descends, and after years and years. Then he says, Bab ma yuttaqa min fitnati al-mal. Chapter ma yuttaqa, from the taqwa. What should be shielded from fitnat al-mal, from the trial of the mal or the wealth. What needs to be, what you need to protect yourself from the trial of wealth. Al-mal is a good thing. Wealth is a good thing, but not like that without any conditions to it. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, it's not mentioned here. نعم المال الصالح للرجل الصالح. The righteous man, the righteous wealth is good. Ni'mah means it's good. What a beautiful thing it is. Not for everybody, only for the righteous person. So it's only good for the righteous person because he would take it from halal and he would spend it in halal. If a person is taking the mal, the wealth from haram, and spend it in haram, what a worse thing that he's doing to himself. Because he will be punished by this mal, by this wealth. It becomes a source of misery. It's not a good thing to him whatsoever. So the same thing can be either a favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to how the person uses it in his life. So what is need to be protected from the fitna of the mal, and he says, وَقَوْلِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى in the title, إِنَّمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ فِتْنَةٌ. Indeed, your wealth and your children, fitna. Fitna means trial for you. The word fitna can mean a good thing and can mean a bad thing. It means a trial, a test. It doesn't mean that the wealth and the children are a bad fitna, no, they are a test for the person. They tend to make you lean away or to be away from the obedience of Allah. Why? Because you're attached, the hearts are attached to the wealth and the children. So what if they want you to follow the adornment of this life or commit sins or so on? So the person has to be steadfast on the Salat al-Mustaqim and not to allow these things in our life, even if it's the most beloved to us, our children, to make us go to the hellfire. Some people, their children will be the reason for them to enter the hellfire, and on the other hand, some people, their children will be the reason for them to enter Jannah. Not according to how would they be guided or deviated, because guidance is in the hands of Allah, and Nuh alayhi salam, his son, was a disbeliever. It's about, did we fulfill our job and our duty towards them by raising them to be slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says, حدثني يحيى ibn Yusuf قال أخبرنا أبو بكر ibn Ayyash. And Abu Bakr ibn Ayyash, one of the famous names with matters of the Quran. And those who are studying the recitations of the Quran and so on. And he was someone that is so famous of holding very strong to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, that this is something that Abdullah ibn Mubarak said that about him. He said, I've never seen anyone, meaning in that place, following the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ like Abu Bakr ibn Ayyash. And when he was dying and his daughter was crying and so on, he said to her, I finished the Quran in this corner 18,000 times. Right? His life is about reciting the Quran and teaching others to recite the Quran and also to teach the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, عن أبي حصين عن أبي صالح عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم تعس عبد الدينار والدرهم والقطيفة والخميصة إن أعطي رضي وإن لم يعطى لم يرضى. تعس عبد الدينار. Abdul Dinar is the slave of the dinar. Dinar is the currency, the money. Dollar, dinar, and so on. Ta'isa means, ta'is, the word ta'is means evil. Right? And it means perished, means miserable, means whatever, all kinds of meanings of what is bad is going to happen to the person. This is either a dua from the Prophet ﷺ to the slave of the dinar, or this is a statement to show that this is a fact. So it's either a dua or a fact. And both, the end result is the same. Because the Prophet ﷺ dua is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also it's a fact. Abdul Dinar, the slave of the dinar. How can a person be a slave to the dinar? He's not making sujood to the dinar or the dollar, right? But the ubudiyya means that he is humble to it. His happiness, his sadness, is according to his dinar, his money. Going left, going right, sitting, standing, concerned, stressed. All of his means of ubudiyya that's supposed to be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes for the sake of the dinar. The thing that makes him happy is the dinar. The thing that makes him sad is the dinar. And the Prophet ﷺ explained that clearly at the end of the hadith. What dirham? The dirham is like the smaller currency of the dinar, like the cent versus the dollar. Wal-qatifa. Al-qatifa is the cloth, the thick one. Wal-khamisa, also the type of cloth that has colors to it or lines to it. Prophet ﷺ is mentioning all of these things, although one is enough for the person to understand, but to make the matter so clear. It depends on what type of wealth that the person has. Some people, they love cash money. Some people, their houses is they are slaves to farms or houses or clothing or whatever adornment things in this life. They are slaves to it. They don't put it in perspective. They don't use it as a mean for the reward in the hereafter. How, again, what is the criteria? How is the slave? In u'tiya radi, wa illam yu'ta lam yu'ta. In u'tiya. If he's given these things, radi, he's pleased. Wa illam yu'ta lam yu'ta. And if he's not given, he's not pleased. He's not pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's not pleased with the deen of Allah. He's not pleased with his own self. Because this is the thing that gets him to, this is the goal of his life. right? So to be away from being Abdul Dinar and so on and so forth, if you are given, we're pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we're using it for the sake of Allah. If we are not given these materialistic things, we're still pleased. Right? It does not affect how we are pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people, when they are in need, or when something is taken away from them, it's fitna, it's a test, they would indulge into sins. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's in our hearts. We might be doing something halal. A person might be working something 100% halal, but he's never tested. If he is to be tested, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's in the heart, if that job is taken away from him, he has bills to pay, right? And the only job that is presented to him, a job that has haram in it, would he take it because he has to pay his bills and so on, or his heart is settled that he would never eat what is haram? So this is a test that is present in the heart, and we have to, even if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed His favor upon us, that we're seeking what is halal, we should test our heart so that we are steadfast. And a person should not ask for a test. He should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect him from being tested, because we might get weak and we'll ever think, no, I would never be weak. No matter what happens, I'm strong. It is so foolish for someone. A person saying that, it's also foolish to say that, because we are weak as human beings and we need the help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why when we see someone fall into the haram and so on, we should feel sad for him, that we will try to invite him to be steadfast in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not to look arrogantly, because we might be tested and also we would lose what we have. إِنْ أُعْطِيَ رَضِي وَإِنْ لَمْ يُعْطَى لَمْ يَرْضَى. And the hadith has other narrations where that person is always miserable in his life. If he is poked by a thorn, he is miserable, as the Prophet ﷺ said. Then he says, حدثنا أبو عاصم عن ابن جريج عن عطاء قال سمعت ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما يقول سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. I heard Ibn Abbas رضي الله عنهما, and Ata ibn Yazid is one of the great students of Abdullah ibn Abbas. He heard Abdullah ibn Abbas رضي الله عنهما, the nephew of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, saying, سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول. I heard the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم saying. And Abdullah ibn Abbas, since he died when the Prophet ﷺ died, he was young in age, so he does not narrate many ahadith from the Prophet ﷺ, most of his narrations from other companions. So he heard this from the Prophet ﷺ. He said, لو كان لابن آدم واديان من مال لابتغى ثالثا ولا يملأ جوف ابن آدم إلا التراب ويتوب الله على من تاب. The Prophet ﷺ said, لو means if the son of Adam, لو كان لابن آدم, if for the son of Adam, and this is for all human beings, if he has wadiyan is two wadi is a valley. If he has two valleys, min mal, from wealth, لابتغى ثالثا, he would seek a third. If he has two valleys full of money, full of wealth, another narrations from dahab, from gold, he would seek another. And he would mention the hadith with different narrations. This is the first one. He would seek a third. وَلَا يَمْلَأُ جَوْفَ ابْنِ آدَمْ إِلَّا التُّرَابُ. And nothing would fill. Al-jawf is the inside, the guts of the human being. Nothing would fill the throat and what's below of the son of Adam except the dust. That means he would never be satisfied. He would only be satisfied when he is in the grave and he's in the dust. There is no means of seeking anything anymore. وَيَتُوبُ اللَّهُ عَلَى مَنْ تَابَ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make the repentance for those who repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will accept their repentance. Guide them to repent and accept their repentance after they repent. The hadith, in 1 minute, it's not encouraging or discouraging. The hadith is stating a fact. And whoever denies this fact, he is lying. So if we see a human being that doesn't have this in himself, he's lying. But what happens to the believers? They push it away from themselves. Right? When their hearts are attached to the hereafter, right? When they read the Quran, they're steadfast in the deen of Allah, they push away these things from them. But originally, this is something in our innate, by necessity, as sons of Adam, as human beings. If we have two valleys of gold, we want to have a third. You have the third, you want to have the fourth. And it never ends. So that means, whoever thinks that once he gets the millions, or the million, or once he finishes building this, or buying this, or whatever, then he will be good, then he should know for sure that he would never be satisfied. This is fooling himself. There's no way the human being will be satisfied. And also it makes it easy for us when you look at someone extremely rich, and you would say, yeah, he's happy, he's done, he's set, right? I'm the one that is suffering. If I was in his position, I would be extremely happy. That person, he is never satisfied. If the dunya is his goal, he wants more, and he wants more, and he's never satisfied. So that's why al-qana'ah, to be content, is a very huge treasure. And this is the meaning of the ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فلنحيينه حياة طيبة. Whoever do righteous good deeds, from a male or female, while they are believers, we will give them a goodly life. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, the narrator of this hadith, what did he say about al-hayat tayyibah? What is the goodly life? He said radiallahu anhu, al-qana'ah, to be content. He will be given this contentment that he will be the richest man of the world. Right? Whether he's given or not given, it's all, and this is by the mercy of Allah, nobody controls this heart. It's never by the physical things that people have in their hands, it's in the hearts of the people. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives someone this is the great favor that can be given to someone in this life. We'll stop inshallah ta'ala at this point for 2 more minutes. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to soften our hearts and to make us among those who repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to provide for us all means of goodness in this life and in the hereafter. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك.